We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. As you're listening to this, it's Wednesday, but we are doing a Substack live, and it is Tuesday night after we're getting the results of these big elections on election night. It's been a fun one so far. It's been a while since I've been on Substack live, so I wanted to get back here. A lot of great folks out there. And all you folks coming in now, I appreciate it immensely. And I want to remind you that your interaction, your input is absolutely important in making this whole thing interesting, entertaining, and hopefully informative. Because there's a lot of folks out there that know a lot of stuff, a lot more stuff than I do. And we've got eyes and ears everywhere, so this is a good opportunity to get the information out. Well, it was election night, and I know the Republicans were talking some shit. The Democrats were talking some shit. Uh, Donald Trump, when he won his election in November, he liked to tell us that it was a mandate, but he won by less than 2 million votes. It was hardly a mandate. But there was a mandate tonight. This mandate not to benefit Donald Trump, but in spite of Donald Trump. What happened tonight is directly connected to Donald Trump and his performance as president of the United States. There were three big elections on the East Coast. There were a bunch of elections around the country, but the three big ones were governor of New Jersey, governor of Virginia, and the mayor of New York City. Let's start with New Jersey, first of all. Mickey Sherrill was going up against, who's a Democrat, going up against Jack Ciattarelli. What a perfect name for a dipshit. But she went up against Jack Ciattarelli. That may or may not be the way to pronounce it, but that's the way I'm going to pronounce it. But they kept saying, oh, this is going to be a close one. This is going to be too close to call. We don't know what's going to happen. 90 minutes after the polls closed, she was proclaimed the winner of the governorship. Democrat governor in New Jersey. Go down to Virginia. Abigail Spanberger was going up against Winsome Sears. Now, Winsome Sears is the current lieutenant governor, and she's a big-time Trump humper, in spite of the fact that she happens to be a black woman. And Abigail Spanberger absolutely destroyed her. But not only that, the lieutenant governor, the Democratic candidate, won, and the attorney general, who was a Democrat, won in spite of some scandals he went through for some text messages and shit. So they took Virginia. Now keep in mind, Glenn Youngkin, the current governor of Virginia, is a Republican and is a big-time buddy of Donald Trump's. So once again, Donald Trump gets beat in Virginia. And then up in New York City, a lot of people were thinking this was going to be close, but again, 90 minutes to less than 2 hours after the polls closed, Zohran Mamdani was announced or projected to be the winner as the mayor in New York City. This has got to be driving the Republicans absolutely batshit crazy. I kind of knew this was going to happen, but I don't think they honestly did. I think they believe their own bullshit. Spacer says, congrats to all the Democratic candidates. The ketchup is flying tonight. Yes. Carl Otero says it was a bloodbath. Yeah, even if it wasn't a bloodbath, let's say it's a bloodbath. If Donald Trump can say November 5th, 2024 was a mandate, we can say this was a bloodbath. Stuart Cohen says MAGA is imploding. Yeah, and you had to know this was coming. TJ say Republicans got smoked. Michael Lewis says shades of things to come. Spacer guess for Ciattarelli, third time wasn't the charm. Yeah, that guy has run 3 times, and he's portrayed himself as a different kind of guy each time. Maybe if you just be your fucking authentic self and tell us who you really are, maybe you have a chance. Let's see, who else is here? Hello, Rational Boomer and Tony. Tony who? Oh, Tony Michaels is here. Hey, Tony, what's up? We're saying, where you been, Tony? Good point. Dirty Diaper Donnie is going to withhold funds to New York City now. Well, so he says. You can't legally do it. Donald Trump says a lot of bullshit, but you ever notice he doesn't accomplish much of it? I mean, he's able to do some damage and create some chaos with this executive order shit, but none of it's going to hold because if we ever get Congress back in session, they're not going to pass anything in Congress. Trump will call all results fake news. Yeah, he probably will, but doesn't it start to begin to seem a little pathetic after a while? Doesn't it seem pathetic of him claiming the same things over and over again? Um, I saw Texas House seat 18 is most likely going blue. Wonder how long Mike Johnson will not swear whoever it is in. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, TJ says he's going to say all elections were rigged. There's no question about that. I don't really even care what Donald Trump has to say right now. I've been waiting for this moment in time when people start to get the hint that Donald Trump is a fuck up. This isn't all about Democrats. This is about independents and some Republicans getting tired of the bullshit. Donald Trump has created too much damage at this point, and he does what all narcissists do. He goes good and strong for a while, but then he gets cocky and he starts to do all these other things, and then it becomes unmanageable. And when it becomes unmanageable, things ultimately crash and burn. And that's kind of what happened tonight with these elections. It wasn't even close. See, the key wasn't that the Democrats won. The key was the Democrats won and won decidedly with big margins. And we saw some big margins out there. This has got to send a shiver down the backs of all Republicans, including Donald Trump, but especially those people in Congress. They know that it is a sign of things to come, and now they're going to get nervous. And you have to wonder if this is going to change their tune with Donald Trump. As I've said many times before, there's going to come a point when they realize Donald Trump is no longer an asset. He is little more than a liability. And when that happens, there is no loyalty in the politics business. They'll kick him to the curb. TJ, he can try, but with margins like these, it'll be a waste of time for any judge. Yeah, when does he have time to fuck with this shit? I want to say something to the people out there that always tell me, oh, he's going to cancel the election. He's going to rig the elections in 2026. Nobody rigged any of these elections. Nobody stopped any of these elections. So if you're whining about that and worried about it, just hold off a little bit. Things are getting tougher and tougher for Republicans. They're becoming weaker and weaker, and so is Donald Trump. By the time we get to 2026, they'll be dribbling on themselves and shitting their pants. I mean, Donald Trump's already doing that, but the rest of them will be too. Let's see. Tonight was just the beginning of Trump's fall. I agree, James. You're absolutely right. He's got to start somewhere. And tonight's the night, as Rod Stewart once said. Trump was most likely hoping that New Jersey would be close and challenge the result in court. Yeah, I think he was hoping all of them would be close so he could challenge it, but there's nothing to challenge at this point. Rebecca says lots of bomb threats in New Jersey today. It didn't work. Yeah, I heard about that. All they did is keep the polls open longer. So, no, it didn't work. And this is, again, how lame, how pathetic, and how violent the Republican side is. They knew going into it they were going to get their ass kicked, so they tried to rig the election. Didn't work, much like 2020. Trump will call Elon for help to cheat in the midterms. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Elon, after what he went through, he probably doesn't want to get involved in this mix. And, to be perfectly honest with you, it's one thing to cheat a presidential election on a presidential election, but all these other are state elections, and it would take a lot of doing to accomplish that. He might try to pick out some possible states, but here's the thing, too. What we also had today was a huge turnout, an unprecedented turnout. And you can gerrymander all you want. You can try to fuck around with things. But when you get a crazy amount of people coming out because they're pissed, even gerrymandering and even trying to rig the elections isn't going to work. You need them to be close. He hinted at it at 60 Minutes. Yeah, I'm sure Donald Trump made some stupid remark. He's always implicating himself one way or another. Jill, I like Newsom saying he'll put 10 election overseers to every Trump's one. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the only way to beat a bully is be tougher than them and stand up to them. And I'm sure Donald Trump lost his shit about that. Um, Spacer says, I heard Nancy Pelosi is going to announce her retirement after Prop 50 passes. I hope so. She's old enough. She needs to go. We need to get some younger blood in here. And especially with Mondani winning, I think this is bugging some of the Democrats more too. The establishment Democrats don't like Mondani because he's got a totally different approach. He doesn't understand the game, the APAC shit and all that. So she's probably getting frustrated that the younger people are coming in and can see the writing on the wall. TJ, I doubt if she's going to stay until they find her with dementia in her home or in Congress. We've got some old people just disintegrating in Congress and in dementia homes. I do think this is the start of things, and I've always said this. There's going to come a time that Republicans start turning on Donald Trump and all the MAGA shit. Never in my wildest dreams did I think it would take this long. That's where I was totally wrong. Thought right after the election they would have used him for what they needed him for, and then they would kind of pen him in and then ultimately kick him out. They let him run rogue. They let him do whatever the fuck he wants. So yeah, that's a problem. And um, but now things are looking pretty bad. I've talked to Eric about this, and he says the moment they decide that he's no longer an asset for them or is going to get votes for him, that's when they'll kick him to the curb. Well, I could have told him that 2 years ago, but he did get elected president. But now things are going south. The economy sucks, the deportations, the scandals, and all this shit. I mean, it's ridiculous. The SNAP benefits. I want to talk about the SNAP benefits a little bit too. Schumer and Jeffries have to go too. I agree. Let new blood take over. Jeffries is a fairly young guy, but he's really made his home with the establishment folks, and I don't know that he can redeem himself from that. Hakeem had to walk back, but walk a tightrope after endorsing Mondani, saying he is not the future of the Democrats, implying that his success is a fluke. Hakeem needs to leave and put some more stronger up. Yeah, I think Hakeem has pretty much destroyed his future. Mondani will be around longer than Hakeem Jeffries. I guarantee you that. When Trump knows his power is diminishing, he's going to be more dangerous. Well, that's exactly right, Michael. When you look at a narcissist, there's different points in their life. As they're on the rise, everything's going smooth. People think they're good, that they're great, charismatic, and then they get to the top, and all the shit is happening. But they get greedy. They get arrogant and they start doing more and more stuff because they think they're invincible. And then they get to the point where it starts getting unmanageable and they can't divert or distract from everything and things start coming out. And when it starts coming out, that's when we get the spiral. So at that point, kind of the point we're at now, you're absolutely right. This is the most dangerous point because um, when he doesn't have the normal tools to get out, to divert, distract, to gaslight, when all of that isn't working, then he just goes crazy. He'll do anything and everything to save his life and his soul. But the fact of the matter is that period of time is when it's most dangerous. This would be an opportune time for the Republicans to hamstring him and kick him to the curb. They won't because they're cowards. But this is a bad time. Donald Trump's going to get frustrated, and when he gets frustrated, he's always he'll burn any bridge. He'll say anything at any particular time, and so you're right. It's going to be dangerous. A golfing fool. First time catching a live show. I strongly believe AOC needs to primary Schumer if he won't leave. I think you're right. I don't think Schumer's out for a while, though. I think she will probably primary him if he stays in. I thought it was until 28. So we could have another 3 years of Schumer before he has to be up for election. I'm not sure about that. I'm sure somebody will check it out. But Schumer need what we need to do in the Senate, if nothing else, take Schumer out of leadership and put somebody who has more ability as a senator to actually fight, kind of be pugnacious and go after the Republicans. We're seeing now that by pushing back and fighting back is working. Hopefully, this will get through the thick heads and the establishment in the Democrats to understand that that's working, and that's the ploy we have to use now. They always want to take the high road and be a nice guy, and it's not working. The people that are fighting back are the ones that are making a difference. Spacer says, I already see the Republican responses are. These are off-year elections aren't important. We have our eyes on the midterms. Try to brush it off while the alarm bells are going off at the RNC. Yeah, you know they're going to say that. Had they won these, it would have been the most momentous day in the history of all politics. The fact that they lost, oh, it's no big deal. Trust me, it's a big deal. This isn't about who won the elections. It's about the attitude of the country, the tone of the country. How do they feel about Republicans? And I can tell you how they feel about Republicans as they're not getting their SNAP benefits, as they're getting laid off their jobs, as they're seeing their friends deported, as they're seeing prices go up. They don't like fucking Republicans. They're tired of Republicans. I can't believe it took this long for them to figure it out, but that's where we are. Will says they need to get away from AIPAC. Yeah, AIPAC is a big problem. When you have a country like Israel through AIPAC putting money in the pockets of virtually every member of Congress, Democrat and Republican, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. And we do have to look at that. I've even said before, we should make the point that you talk about boycotts and all these sorts of things. We should suggest anybody taking money from AIPAC, we don't vote for. There's been one representative, Democrat, that said he's giving back all the AIPAC money. His name is Seth Moulton. I'm not sure what state he's from, but more of these people need to do that. Anybody that gives back the AIPAC money, I will side with. Wilfredo says, this is a year too late. Where was this last year? That's a good point. Michael Lewis says, an old guy, 73, more young, smart people like Mondami, AOC, and Jasmine. I'm with you, Michael. I agree. I'm old, too. I'm 65 years old. And I think the era of the old white man is over, and good riddance. We see where we get with the era of the old white man. We need to throw those fuckers out, get more diversity. Men, women, people of color, LGBTQ, I don't care. Get younger people that have skin in the game. People like Michael and I don't have any skin in the game. A lot of this stuff that's happening won't really come to fruition or have an impact on this country till after we're long dead. We've got young people that have the future. They should determine what their destiny is. Especially since they reported on Zateo Mehdi Hassan's channel saying that IDF has been accused of committing SA on Palestinian prisoners. I guarantee you that's happened. We've been hearing stories about that for some time. See here. Will says, pity we have crazy old man in charge. Yeah, and he is without doubt fucking crazy. What are you guys thinking about this whole SNAP thing? I've got a different attitude. I was talking to Will about this. I was talking to Tucker T about this. Funny thing, we get the shutdown. Donald Trump wants to use the SNAP payments as leverage against the Democrats. I'm not going to give out the SNAP payments. He's thinking that the Democrats will get nervous, become compassionate, and give in. Donald Trump will win again. But they don't. Donald Trump is frustrated by this. He's absolutely frustrated by this. So anyway, they take it to court, and the court says, you have to use the emergency money that's there for this very purpose. And then he comes out, the administration comes out, well, maybe we'll put out half. And then Donald Trump comes out later in the day and says, yeah, we're not going to do it until the Democrats open up the country. Will and I were talking about this, and I brought this up some time ago. I know people like this guy. I had a father like this guy. I had a lot of money. But then when it came down to needing the money, guess what? There was no money. And they weren't lying. These people aren't good with money. They spend money on stupid things like $300 million ballrooms, like planes from Qatar, like planes for Kristi Noem, like parties for the Great Gatsby parties. I guarantee you that if they go in, and the reason they can't pull money out of this account is because the money's not there anymore. He's defying the court order to release the funds. Now, that's not surprising that he would defy a court order. But what I want to see, if he doesn't want to touch the funds, show me proof that they're still there. Show us the documentation. Show us the ledger that the money's still there. And I'll guarantee you, he's trying to cover something up because the money is no longer there. Cole Brennan says, Maha, make America hungry again. Yeah, that's about right. Will says it's all gone. Now Trump is going to close airports to up the extortion. Yeah. Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy says, if we get more people not coming into work, even though we're not paying them, we may shut down places in the country for air travel. Yeah, you go ahead and do that. Let's see how that plays out. Let's see how that works out. And if you're not giving SNAP payments, how's your buddies at Walmart going to do? Walmart's all pissed off about SNAP payments because Walmart gets about 26% of all SNAP payments. Now, understand, SNAP payments amount to about $8 billion a month. $8 billion a month for SNAP payments. Now, if Walmart gets 26% of that, we're talking more than $2 billion a month Walmart is going to lose. How long do you think they're going to stand for that? Spacer says, TJ, what is the scope of those PA Supreme Court justices and for them to maintain their seats? Trump has been wanting to remove the 3 Democratic Supreme Court Pennsylvania judges since 2020. Sue says, I've been saying the same thing. I don't think the money's there. I really don't think the money's there. I know how these people think. They do whatever they want to do. They figure they can cover it up or talk their way out of it. And then when they get cornered, like he is now, he's going to be hard-pressed to prove that there's any fucking money. And then when we find out the money isn't there, there should be some legal ramifications. There should be accountability. Of course, Pam Bondi is the Attorney General, and she'll just turn a blind eye. But understand, when she's gone, when Donald Trump is gone, there's going to have to be some accountability. There's a statute of limitation, 5 to 7 years, something like that. When Donald Trump's done, all these motherfuckers that have been part and parcel to this absconding with money are going to have to pay a price, and good luck to them. James has shut down air travel and watched the economy plummet. Well, it's already plummeting, but you're right. Air travel is going to cause a real problem if it's limited. It's going to piss off a lot of big companies that own airlines and air manufacturers. B. Lynn Adcock, the SNAP money went to Argentina. That's a possibility. I mean, that's $40 billion or more that he just gave away to Argentina and has let the farmers twist in the wind. He keeps talking about getting a bailout for the farmers. I'm not a farmer, but I haven't heard of any bailout. Promises are nice, but if you don't come through, people are going to be pissed. It's like the money for the military. Oh, we're going to find a way to pay the military. Asked Pete Hegseth to look around for some money. He didn't find any. He got one of his buddies, who's tied to Jeffrey Epstein, to give him $130 million to pay the military. Unfortunately, the military is, if you've got $130 million, you get one-time payment of $100 per military personnel. How happy do you think they're going to be with that? What's the next administration going to do? Hopefully Democrat when there's a huge gap in the national coffers. Well, that's the thing. Whoever takes over the government after these fucking clowns are done with it, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be quite a mess. And it's going to take some work. And that's what people have to understand. When the Democrats do take over, don't expect them to flip everything around and make it all right in a short period of time. They're going to need time. They're going to need multiple terms to get this done. So you better be patient, because if you bring another Republican in, we're back on track to sink this fucking country. Belin Adcock says PA Supreme Court Dems won. I think the Dems won everywhere. Will says ICE got paid. Yeah, there's a lot of money going to ICE. Where did that come from? Why don't the Orange Man use the trillions made from the tariffs? Yeah, I was saying the same thing. He's telling us $17 trillion. Where's that money? I mean, given the fact that those trillions of dollars, alleged trillions of dollars, came in, and we understand that that money came from us, it's our money, right? It didn't come from China. It didn't come from all these other countries. We paid higher prices or higher taxes, and that's what that money is doing. So why can't you pay SNAP with those trillions of dollars? It's a good question. Uh, Spacer says, surprised that international airlines haven't announced that they will stop all flights into the U.S. Well, I see that coming. I mean, if it's not safe to come in this country, why would international airlines want to come in here? I mean, those planes are very expensive and the people on them are invaluable. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that. Spacer says, easy way to refill the gap with the next administration, tax the 1%. Well, that's exactly right. Like Mondani, he wants to tax the rich in New York 2%, and they're all shitting their pants. You're worried about getting taxed 10% or 2%, and but you're willing to let people fucking starve. You're willing to have people's health care go up by 2, 3, and 4 times, but you're going to whine and cry about a 2% addition to your taxes. That's the very least the wealthy should have to pay. Once the Democrats control all 3 branches, is there a way to undo the permanent nature of the Trump tax breaks for the rich? Well, yeah, through Congress you could. You got to understand, most of what Donald Trump has done is done through executive order. And when the next president comes in, all they have to do is go down and say, nope, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. You can get rid of the executive orders. It's the things that have gone through Congress, like the big, beautiful bill. There'll have to be another bill to um, adjust or just throw that out and get something else in. They can do it, though. But we, the people, have to give them the control in Congress to be able to do it. Will says, even in Georgia, 2 public commissioners who control utility rates beat 2 Republicans 2-1, first time in 25 years. Yeah, this has got to be something that's making these fucks nervous, really, honestly. A lot of this is unprecedented. And I'm surprised the Republicans haven't thought about this up until this moment. This is an eye-opening epiphany to them. I mean, we've seen what's been going on since Donald Trump took office. We know it's hurting Republicans as much as it's hurting Democrats. The idea that these Republicans would stick by their side and still vote for them, in spite of the draconian shit that's being put on them, is a little short-sighted, a little stupid. Spacer says, Project 2029 Democrat version. Yeah, there have been people who have talked about what happens when we get in situations like this. Somebody brought up the fact that back when we had the Depression and we had the radical right people, Herbert Hoover and that going to shit, and that went to shit. And then they brought in FDR. Because it was so bad financially and so bad, so far right, FDR gets in and he gets to do a lot of progressive bills, Medicare, Social Security, whatever. So I'm thinking that once we get through this negative shit, there's going to be a big taste for more progressive things, maybe universal health care, maybe cheaper colleges, maybe more money for people in pay and more taxes being charged to the wealthy. How long is Mickey Mouse Johnson going to keep blaming the Dems for the shutdown when he hasn't called the House back? Well, that's true. He can blame the Democrats, but he doesn't even show up. He's on vacation. I'll be honest with you, I think Mike Johnson is probably hanging by a thread in his job. He's not making anybody happy. He's embarrassing himself. He's pretty much abdicated the position of Speaker of the House and pretty much dissolved the House of Representatives. They're a non-factor anymore. And it's all just to protect Donald Trump from the Jeffrey Epstein files. Well, that's got to change at some point. I know Mike Johnson or somebody suggested it may be till January. I don't think so. The pressure is going to get too heavy on Mike Johnson. Will says, Tribunal first, I want to see ICE agents exposed and punished. I told this story a while back that I heard on the podcast. I heard about it, that I talked about it on the podcast. Apparently, there is some women out there that are so strongly against ICE that they are taking one for the team and they are dating members of ICE strictly so they can get pictures of them and all their contact information. I got to tell you, ladies, that is taking one for a team, and I appreciate what you're doing. But, there's got to be paperwork on these people. There's got to be names on lists, much like Jeffrey Epstein. And when this is all said and done, they're going to have to answer some hard questions, and they're going to be looking at possible indictments. Tomorrow's press conference with Grindr Mike will be epic. I hadn't heard about that press conference, so yeah, I guess it will be interesting. I wonder if they did it to do it right after the elections to get a sense of what the temperature is. Maybe. I know that Donald Trump and some of the Republicans thought that come tomorrow, the Democrats would be ready to agree to terms with the CR. They just wanted to wait till after the elections. I hope that's not true. I know there's some Democrats getting a little pressure and they want to open the country back up, but at what cost? You're going to open up the country so that then you can make healthcare impossible for people to get. Democrats need to stand strong. They need to wait till the Republicans fold, and trust me, especially after a night like tonight, they are going to fold. Ironically, there is a new movie coming out with Russell Crowe and Rami Malek, Nuremberg. Hopefully, ICE faces tribunals also. Yeah, I saw that movie coming out, and you wonder if the timing wasn't planned that way. Just to remind folks, not only us, those Republican fucks, that there will be a time when they will be held accountable. Because as much as you think Donald Trump has immunity, you motherfuckers don't have any immunity. And when people are in a position to do it, and they're going to be looking for accountability for the crimes and corruption that have been committed, they're going to be out for blood. They're going to be out for blood, and they're going to be coming after you. I hope you're making a lot of money and putting it away because you're going to need it for a fucking lawyer. Michael Lewis says, limited election today is rattling cages. Oh, no question about it. Wilfredo says, a woman in a town hall stated her ACA rates went up 250%. Yeah. And this whole thing, the timing with the ACA works out pretty well as far as letting people know what they can expect. As you're in an open enrollment period, we're now seeing what the cost of healthcare would be without the ACA subsidies. People are, if you're paying $500 a month for you and your husband, and it's going to go up 250%, your ACA will then be $1,000, $1,500, maybe $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 a month, from $500 to $1,800. That's untenable. You can't do anything with that. People can't afford that, so people will be without health care. And that's why I'm saying, once we get through this and people see how bad it could be, we might be more, we may have more of a taste for universal health. Pacer says, if these elections results are any indication, we will definitely see surprise flips in 2026. I predict Iowa, Ohio, and maybe Kentucky. Yeah, I know. I've been talking to Eric, the analytical Iowan, and he's starting to feel like Iowa may be going blue too. And frankly, Iowa's having its problems. A lot of farmers in Iowa that aren't doing well at this point. They've been promised a bailout, but there's been no fucking bailout. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see these people flipping. I mean, if you can't feed your families, if you can't maintain your homestead, if you can't run your business, clearly need to look for some changes. And since the Republicans have no platform, they just talk bullshit and they tell you, no, it's all okay. I mean, Donald Trump went on 60 Minutes and said prices are coming down. The interviewer said, no, they aren't. He goes, yes, they are. You gotta see this. It's just all bullshit. And you can say whatever you want. But if people are experiencing the higher prices when they go shopping or put gas in their car or try to buy a new car or a house, um, sadly, it's there. It's undeniable. Will says, sadly, people had to see chaos to vote blue. They didn't believe us. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that, Will. We've been talking about these things and the possibilities for a few years now. But Republicans were unable to conceive of it, to understand it, to comprehend it. And this is what I was afraid of, and apparently is true. Everything has to come crashing down in a disaster or catastrophe before some motherfuckers get it. It's unfortunate, but it's true. James, this isn't going to affect ACA premiums, but it will affect all health insurance premiums. Yeah, you're right. It's not just ACA. Ultimately affects everything. That's why the Democrats can't give up on this. Donald Trump is violating a court, not giving SNAP. The ACA, the Democrats have some room here because Donald Trump should be able to put the money into it to keep SNAP going. Donald Trump wants SNAP to be off to put pressure on the Democrats to cave to him. Donald Trump doesn't want to give up this fight, and I'll guarantee you there's some Republicans that would like to give up on it right now, but Donald Trump's not allowing him to do it. So we're at a point now where they're going to have to shit or get off the pot. They're going to have to go against Donald Trump or not get reelected. Hope you feel better soon, Mike. I'm not too bad right now. This isn't the worst cold I've had. I got it from it's ironic. I got it from my granddaughter when she was over here. My wife got it, and then I got it. But what's weird, my wife and I go over and watch our grandson Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We had to take a week off because my wife was sick. And then now we go back this week, and I'm sick, so my wife just goes over alone and takes care of the 5-month-old. But it's ironic that the reason I can't go and hang out with this 5-month-old is because I got a cold from his fucking sister who lives in the same house. I don't get it. Jill, I feel fine. I'm not that bad. B. Lynn Adcock says universal health care is now trending. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. This whole process and what we're going through now, I'm a firm believer that when you go through bad shit, oftentimes it brings you to good shit. And this kind of pressure and this kind of trouble with healthcare right now may be the thing that pushes us toward universal healthcare. Spacer says Democratic establishment is running scared because they don't support mostly the idea of universal health care, while the victories of Mikey Sherrill, Abigail Spanberger is great. The establishment is trying to rationalize that they overshadow Mondani's victory. Yeah, if you think the Republicans are the only ones that don't want universal health care, you're fooling yourself. Now, granted, the Democrats did the ACA, but that's not universal health care. The Democrats are in the same situation as the Republicans. Same thing with AIPAC. Everybody's getting money from AIPAC. Well, everybody's getting money from the pharmaceutical lobby, the medical lobby, the insurance lobby, and they don't want to kill the golden goose. So they don't want you to get universal health care. So the only thing we can do is make sure you either get us the universal health care, take a cut in your grifting, or you don't get reelected. That will be the only thing that makes them change their mind. Will says, remember, the reason we didn't get universal health care in the 50s and 60s is because they didn't want black people to have health care. You're absolutely right. It was a very racist thing. And I tell people this. I was born in 1960, grew up in the 60s and 70s. We talk about racism now and how bad it is. You have to understand, back in those days, 40s, 50s, 60s, racism was just an accepted attitude. Racism was just a fact of life. You didn't have anybody shaming anybody to be racist. It was just something people did. And it wasn't that long ago, and it's pretty sad when you think about it. Spacer says, I'm wondering what attacks Trump will try to ramp up after these Democratic victories. Maybe they try to send the National Guard into NYC, Newark, or Richmond. Things are about to get serious, which is why we all need to link up and stand together. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Donald Trump is all about revenge, retribution. He always has to make a response to an attack. And make no mistake, this is an attack on Donald Trump. No question, it's an attack on Donald Trump. As he said, it's a mandate, but this mandate is suggesting that Donald Trump sucks and nobody likes him. We're seeing the polls right now, 60, 70% of the country are dissatisfied with Donald Trump. Now, he'll tell us that they're all hoaxes and they're not true, that he's got the best numbers ever. It's not true. It's not a fact. Not even the ones that would support Donald Trump are giving good information about what the polling is. Wilfredo says, just put a floor on insurance premiums and the government picks up the rest. Very simple. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Can you please let us know the new phone number to send you and ask you questions? Good point. I will. I'll do it right now. The number is 952 522 1399. 952 522 1399. In fact, maybe I'll just put this up there. I'm going to put the number in the comments here and you can grab it that way. And I have gotten some text messages. I'm going to do a separate, shorter kind of podcast type of thing. I'm going to answer those questions and make comments on the comments. So, hold on one second here. I've been doing the email thing, and my email stuff gets just buried with all kinds of other shit, and I miss stuff. This text message is much easier. It's right on my phone, and I can look at it, and I can sit down with it. So I'm putting that up there now. It's under my comment, Rational Boomer, 952-522-1399 text message. So check that out. And for those listening on the podcast, I'll try to put it in the comments there too, so you know where to go. Let's see here. Things are falling apart for the far right overseas also. The Netherlands just voted to put a liberal gay man in charge. Italy and Giorgia Meloni are seeing the power slipping. The sun is starting to rise for us again. Yeah, I agree. It's about fucking time. I never thought it would take this long. I'm wondering what's going to happen after these victories. I think he's setting up to deny all these elections. Well, yeah, sure, he's going to do that. But the more he does it, the more pathetic he looks. He can't look good in this situation. Not everything. He's not the only one right in the world and everybody else is wrong. That's what he wants us to believe. But he's so stupid he doesn't even understand that people can see how pathetic it is. This is the start, and 2026 is the next, and it doesn't end in 2028. Will just said, Prop 50 passed, just been called. So what that means in California, Prop 50 is passed. That was the only thing on the ballot, I think, at this point. And Prop 50 means The state of California can redistrict and kick out 4 or 5 of the Republican seats. So those Republicans in California that have jobs currently and will not have jobs next year, you can thank Donald Trump for that. You can thank Donald Trump for the loss of your job. And so what happened with Prop 50 and Gavin Newsom out there, they basically made the Texas effort a fucking wash. We may see more of this stuff going on. So thank you, Will, for letting us know about Prop 50. That's important. That was a big election too. Pacer says that was quick victory for all of us. Yeah, that's the interesting thing, and that's really the telling factor. The Democrats winning on the East Coast and Prop 50 passing, that's all good news. But when they get elected or this thing passes with big numbers like they have, that's what really set the tone. That's what really sets things up and makes Republicans and even Democrats try to think about it. Cherry Green says, you have no idea how much I appreciate you and your work. Thank you so much, sir. Well, Cherry, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to even listen to me. So I appreciate that, and I'm happy to do it, especially with so many people commenting and participating. Spacer says, I hope now that Virginia will have Spanberger. They actually go through their gerrymandering plans, but I heard Democrat speaker for the Virginia Senate is blocking the vote. Well, they got a Democratic governor, they got a Democratic lieutenant governor, they got a Democratic attorney general. So, in spite of whatever gerrymandering they've done or hope to do, it ain't working because the turnout was too big. James says he's already posted on his rag blog that the Dems won tonight just because he wasn't on the ballots. Of course he does. Yeah, but he was on the ballot. He was on the ballot. What Donald Trump doesn't understand, the reason these people lost in this fashion is because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump got his mandate, but this is a mandate against Donald Trump. And Texas fucked up with their redistricting because Trump is losing Hispanics. Yeah. Wilfredo Rodriguez is the Maryland Senate leader, not Virginia. Okay. Yeah, this whole redistricting thing, you got to understand that Texas was gerrymandered in the first place. Doing what they're doing may not work to their benefit. They're all performative, so they do this to try to scare or upset or own the libtards. But in the end, it may not help them at all. It may hurt them in the long run. And let's be honest, when we're talking about Donald Trump and the Republicans, what's one thing we know for sure? Whatever they do, they're going to fuck it up. They're going to fuck it up every goddamn time. And Donald Trump thinks the Republicans lost because he wasn't on the ballot. Please, motherfucker. No. Donald Trump was on the ballot. Every time somebody saw R next to a name, they thought Trump-umper, Trump-la-fuck. And they voted against them because of the way the country is now. Donald Trump can keep trying to tell us that everything is great. The economy is great. Prices are going down. But we're real people feeling real results of what the Trump administration is doing. You can try to gaslight all day long, but when people can't afford to buy food, can't afford to go grocery shopping, can't afford to take trips or buy clothes or whatever it is, they know what the fucking deal is. And Donald Trump can say anything he wants, but it ain't working. It ain't working. I'm waiting for the unhinged stuff with Donald Trump. He was kind of unhinged leading up to this election. He tried to threaten New York with taking away funding from New York if they voted for Mondani. That didn't work. Texas, I fear, is going to be a third world nation when this is all over. Abbott is going to do SNAP relief, as far as I know, and the two propositions they had is best down there. Well, yeah, I agree. I think that Abbott will fuck things up there. He's too much of a Trump humper, and he will do some stupid shit or not do anything, which would be even dumber. Okay, Greg Abbott says, I'm going to put 100% tariff on people moving into Texas from New York. Yes, he said it. I don't think he has to worry about people moving into Texas. I think, like Florida, he's going to have a lot of people moving out of there. Why would you want to live in that fucking cesspool? And it's sad to say because, Texas and Florida are beautiful states. They count a lot on tourism, and nobody wants to go there anymore. I had somebody say to me, would you go to Florida? No. If I got free housing and free flights down to Florida, I wouldn't go. I'd go someplace else. Same with Texas. And we're hearing that Las Vegas is in crisis mode right at this point because nobody's going to Vegas. John Joseph says, it really surprises me how many people, even at this time, don't know what Trump has done and is doing. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It's really troubling seeing some of these Trump humpers that just don't understand or don't comprehend what's going on. And because of that, they still support him wholeheartedly. And it's pretty ridiculous, ultimately, to watch the ignorance that we're seeing out there. All right. Wilfredo says Vegas is a ghost town. That's what I hear. Old Soul is going to be back home next week, I think. So we'll get her back on and have her give us a report of what's going on in Las Vegas. Ramaswamy is putting out campaign ads in New York City for New Yorkers to move to Ohio when he said he was going to win the governor's race here, even though I see the tide turning in Ohio. Yeah, you're going to see Ohio changed it. Ramaswamy. When is Ramaswamy going to understand? They don't like brown people. You're in the wrong party, dude. Mondani won. He's a Democrat. You're a brown guy. You're an immigrant. Ramaswamy, you aren't going to fucking win. Uh, Trevor Lee yelling Zorhan Mondani, blue tsunami. It was kind of a blue tsunami today. This is something we'd hoped to have seen in 2024, but didn't. Apparently, it wasn't dire enough for people to vote against somebody who is going to crash this country. The 49% that voted for Donald Trump, they're now seeing what their vote is bringing them, and it's not a good thing. That's the tough thing is you and I sit here and we talk about this. We could have predicted these things before the election. We did predict these things before the election. The only place we fell down was that we had no idea it would happen this quickly, but we knew it was going to be bad ultimately. Though I'm disappointed that the Ohio Democrats in the legislature caved on the gerrymandering maps, the Republicans held back for weeks, then shoved down everyone's throat. Trevor's is Proposition 50 passed. Yes, absolutely. That's outstanding. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see other Democratic or blue states doing something similar. This gerrymandering isn't a good thing, but for California, it was a necessary thing. We can't let the Republicans continue to do bullshit like this and then not have a response. That's why we get our ass kicked. We try to take the high road. We try to be the nice guys. But you can't do that in this world anymore. Rule of law, guidelines, guardrails, all this shit, that doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't exist anymore. So why to try to play the game fairly when you're going up against somebody who's cheating? Maggie says the people voted, they did it the right way. Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Maggie. That was the big difference in California to Texas. Texas just did it. The Republicans shoved it down their throats and forced everybody to do it, in spite of the fact there may have been some people that didn't want that to happen. Gavin Newsom did it the right way. He could have tried to do it the other way, but according to their constitution, you have to put it up for vote, which he did. He waited for it. They campaigned for it. The citizens of California spoke, and they want this shit redistricted. They want to push back against Democrats, and I'm grateful for what they did in California. I'm proud of what they did in California, and this is good to see. It's about time we had some people pushing back against bullies. And hopefully this is the start of more things to come like this. The fight is working. Gavin Newsom, some of the other people in Congress that are speaking out and pushing back. It's working. So we need more of it, and we need to do it continually. And as I've said before, whenever you're dealing with bullies, you got to put them down and you got to make sure you keep them down. They're like cancer cells metastasizing. If you don't eradicate all of them, even the smallest one could come back and grow into something like what we're looking at now. So I'm hoping this fighting spirit is something that's going to spread throughout the Democratic Party. I think we'll have the Schumers and the Nancy Pelosi's and the Hakeem Jeffries that will still try to play the game the way they have. They're getting money from all these sources and they don't want to piss somebody off. Well, now is the time to start pissing people off. We don't give a fuck about AIPAC. We don't give a fuck about the big lobbies. We need to take money out of politics and put the people back in charge. The moment that they put the power in the place for the people, the money is when we were fucked. Trevor says Pelosi has announced her retirement. I hope that's true, and I trust Trevor, so I'm sure it's true. Good riddance. You know, you had a good run. You did a good job for a time when Donald Trump was president the first time around. And during the time when he wasn't in office, but still in the mix. You did a good job. But you're 100 now, so time to go take a fucking rest. There was a lecture video given by Sarah Payne, a professor at the U.S. Naval College, I think. She gave examples about how when Biden was president, he knew that Russia could be exhausted to collapse, and China has ideological issues currently with the government and people. But now that Trump is in, Xi and Putin are weakening the U.S. friendships we have. She used Imperial Japan during the 40s, saying what it looks like when a country fights the world alone, they crumble. And that's absolutely right. You know, if you were China and Russia, what you want more than anything and why you send spies to this country is to try to get the country to crumble from the inside. Nuclear wars don't make any sense. Ground wars don't make any sense. If you can crumble the country from inside, that's how you do it. Little did Putin and Xi know that they didn't have to do anything. Just had to help get Donald Trump elected, and he'd do it for you. And that's exactly what he's doing. John Joseph says, yeah, Democrats get called on what we do, and Republicans think they are entitled. Well, they do think they're entitled. They speak for the oligarchs. The oligarchs think they get everything, and they think we, the people, get nothing. Well, that's bullshit. That's not the way it goes. That's not the way it's going to happen. And we're going to stop this shit. You know, again, people want to make it left and right, liberal and conservative. That's not what it is. It's the wealthy against us. And the wealthy have co-opted the Republicans to fight their fight on this level. So we got to take it the other way. The Democrats have to fight against the oligarchs and the Republicans, and we've got to straighten this shit out if we ever hope to get control of this country again. And when you look at the Constitution and our forefathers, the intent was for the people to have the power. But for years and decades, we were apathetic and we gave away the power. We see what happens when we give away the power. Now we got to take it back. We got to rip it from their withering hands and bring it back. Now to squash Nick Fuentes and his minions. That shouldn't be hard. That shouldn't be hard. I think Nick Fuentes' future is limited anyway. He pisses off too many people and he's too easy of a target. I don't know I'm not really worried about Nick Fuentes. He makes a lot of noise, but anything he's doing really isn't taking hold anymore. Spacer says, Pericles said it best, I'm afraid of our own mistakes than the devices of our enemies. Absolutely. That's a great comment. We can't afford to fuck up. We can't afford to be weak. I'm not worried about the devices of the Republican Party. They have proven every day that they fuck up. They can't do anything right. They have no platform. They have no uh, strategies. Their only thing they can do is come after the Democrats and try to make them look bad. When we disregard that and go after them, they'll be easy to take down. But we have to have Democrats willing to do it. Democrats that have some balls that actually go after the Republicans. And it seems like we're getting closer and closer to that. John says, just waiting for the other guy to make a mistake. Yeah, and then to capitalize on that mistake. I mean, how many mistakes has Donald Trump made in the last 10 years? The media and the Democrats refuse to capitalize on it. I don't know what that's about. Why they fear that, but we need to wait for them to make a mistake, and that's not hard because they do it every fucking day, and then just hammer them with their own mistake over and over and over again. So we'll see if the Democrats do that. But I think we're in good shape now in terms of going into 2026. I think a statement was made with these elections. Not only did Democrats win, but they won decidedly. This does have to send a shiver down the back of every fucking Republican politician. They've got to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And if they see the light at the end of the tunnel, they're going to have to know that it's a fucking train coming right at them. Yeah, but Trump is the kid that tries to build something out of the little men on the chessboard like a child, and then he'll throw the board over when he starts to lose. That's exactly right. And I think we're getting closer to that. I think that's one of the things the Republicans are most concerned about. When Donald Trump is cornered and there's no way to go, he will destroy everything and everybody around him. He'll be mad at them for not saving him, and he'll be mad that there's no way out. And like we said before, this is a time when things get really pretty ugly and pretty dangerous. So we have to be aware of that. Eventually, the Democrats will have to cave and kick his ass out or do something because he's just going to do further damage to the Republican Party and make it that much worse for 2026. I'll be honest with you, if the Republicans think they can repair what's been going on up to this point and still win in 2026, I think they're kidding themselves. I think they've already lost 2026. What they should be doing now is cleaning house, and trying to redeem themselves to a certain extent come 2028, because 2026 is a year away. They don't have a fucking chance to fix things. All the things that they fucked up, they don't have a chance to do that between now and then. But we need to recognize the ICC also. Trump needs to be held accountable there if not able to be here. Yeah, the international courts, yeah, you're absolutely right. The UN has basically suggested that what Donald Trump is doing in bombing those fishing boats is a war crime. We don't recognize the ICC, so we don't send people to international courts. But that's something we should look at, given what's going on now. Maybe when the Democrats take over, we do accept the ICC and let them haul Donald Trump in front of an international court. And I'll tell you what, that immunity that he's got doesn't count in international court. They don't give a fuck about that. They have no jurisdiction there. Maggie says Trump has started stupid posting. He's not happy. I was really looking forward to that more than anything, the dumb posts that he's going to make. He's freaking out at this point. Whenever he freaks out, he stays up all night, posts in all caps, and makes all kinds of threats. I'm looking forward to it because he will look absolutely stupid in the process. All right. I'm going to wrap things up for this live on Substack and the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank all of you for joining me on this live. Like I've said before, you make all the difference. When you show up and ask the questions, make the comments, fill us in on information, it is invaluable. It would be impossible to do this without your help. So I appreciate it immensely. For those of you listening, thank you for taking the time to do it. I hope you have a great night, a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.